Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining me and Paul as we look forward to taking you through what is a fantastic story that we still haven't seen, but Marco Polo. How you doing, Paul? You all right?
Not too bad. How are you, John?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm not too badly sunburnt, which is a blessing,
Yeah. We bold guys can be very, very careful.
Just turning the light on, mate. Gives me trouble.
Just going outside, you have to have factor 155 before you go out, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'll get moonburns. Yeah, go.
I was going to say what you were saying just as your introduction there. I agree. This is a fantastic story.
Yeah.
Marco Polo. I love this story so much. I'm looking forward to discussing this in great detail.
Yeah, same here. And I think it's just a special story. And you're probably the same as me. I've lost count on the number of times I've listened to this audio. It's just it's a comfort blanket for me, this story. It really is great.
Me as well. I when I was working for various jobs, commuting, I used to listen to them on the train, all the missing episodes, stories, and loved it. And Marco Polo was one I went to all the time.
Yeah.
And I would say I probably know Marco Polo as well as I know Genesis of the Daleks. I'd have to say, even though I've not seen it, I've watched it so many times. And this is. I love this TARDIS team. He's talked about that in Edge of Destruction, and the development of the characters, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I really love this. It's still. People keep saying that this is the Doctor starts to mellow. I'm not convinced by that.
I said that, and I'm correcting myself.
He's a rather cantankerous old so-and-so.
I've got a few examples, that is why I kind of retract that. But I think for everybody watching us as well, I would say also to carry on, enjoy us, and watch to the end, because one thing we're introducing from this story onwards now is we're going to be doing a character of the story. So, me and Paul would give our verdict on who was our favourite character at the end of this story. And, I'll be interested to see who we get,
I think we may agree on that one, but I don't know. I don't think
we might, yeah. We might agree on it, mate. Like Ping Cho.
Yeah, we'll probably Ping Cho. Yeah.
But I mean, when this was first broadcast, I was looking at the viewing figures for it, and it got consistently 9.4 million viewers, and then it finished. The final episode got sort of like 10.4 million.
Yeah, and then you got to factor in catch up and iPlayer and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. We're still waiting for it to hit iPlayer, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so yeah.
But to start, before we get into the episodes, what I wanted to say as well, I love the narration of Marco Polo in this story. It's so good. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like watching a Michael Palin.
Yes,
he's
a bit like that.
Describing the journey.
Around the world 80 days kind of thing. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Or Himalaya, and it's got that kind of feel to it where he's writing in his journal and narrating it, and it moves it along so well. But I mean, obviously, with the first episode, Roof of the World, we start with the TARDIS lands in the Himalayas, and they've come out, and they found that icy footprint in the snow, and it just starts moving from there. And when you say about the Doctor, about not mellowing, this is where is an example of it, because when he comes out of the TARDIS and he basically says that the water and the heating isn't working, he's in a really bad mood, isn't he, at this point?
Everything's really knackered. That's why he's so annoyed.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing I like about it is in season 1 of Doctor Who, you start seeing a lot of faults with the TARDIS. So I would say more than at any other point. There are things going wrong with it,
Well, that's the thing I really like about Classic Who, especially the beginning.
Yeah.
In any other story, there's no excuse for them to be there, and they have this thing about they want to get back to the TARDIS all the time. And in later Classic Who, the same thing. They could just leave if they wanted to, but in this, they give them a reason not to be able to leave, like the fluid link, or now Marco Polo's got the Doctor's caravan, etc., or the lock and the sensorite. So they've got all these ways to stop them leaving, or the force field and Marinus, all that kind of stuff. And I think it's really, really clever to have that device to stop them, because they have to get beyond the challenge. It's not simply let's go. We'll just go, okay? And that really works really well for me. Yeah, and it gives more jeopardy to it as well, which is really good.
Oh, it does, without a doubt. And I think the other thing that I've noticed as well in season 1, and it kind of creeps along in this as well, is you see that the Doctor is more prone to human elements in season 1. Like, with the Daleks, the radiation sickness, it impacts him more than the others. With this, the altitude sickness is impacting him. So we're very much at a point where the Doctor is kind of written as an old man, where he's not this, otherworldly being that is able to survive things a lot more than humans. And I like how they've done that.
When you see the Doctor in Seeds of Doom and someone said, "Why are you not wearing a coat?" Well, I don't feel the cold. In this, it's different, because he gets altitude sickness on the Daleks, gets radiation sickness, etc., etc. So he is succumbing to more sort of human feelings. You're right. That's great.
Yeah, and I also love another bit of our, me and you have debated this about, was it deliberate or is it accidental due to William Hartnell fluffing the lines, but he does the wonderful Charlton. He refers to Ian Charlton. Yeah, and then it's corrected as Chesterton by Ian, which is done really well. And that's a little thing that keeps going. I do like that. I think it's.
I did read somewhere in some article that I think Hartnell did rehearse that as an idea.
Yeah.
Whether or not it was deliberate originally, but then became an idea.
Yeah.
I think it's very funny though, because Hartnell's great at doing the comedy. There's more comedy later on with Kubla Khan and all that kind of stuff, which is really nice. But I think I was saying about Hartnell's grumpiness though. He's really grumpy with Ian and the rest of the crew, and then when Marco Polo arrives, he's got some great insults to he's all right. He's got a very nasty tongue on him, hasn't he?
It is absolutely superb. And I think what I also like as well is, and this was before Pyramids of Mars, but the Doctor asking Marco Polo what year it is.
Oh yeah, I love all that. Yeah,
and it's a very similar, the way it's done. It's basically, he doesn't know the year, and it's not done as obtuse like Pyramids of Mars and the Fourth Doctor, but I do like the fact that he's just like, asking.
But Tom's equally as cantankerous with Marcus Scarman as the Doctor's with Marco Polo. So that's interesting.
And I like that, because you can see the same character there, can't you?
Definitely.
Which works really well. And
because I love, I said to you in the previous reviews for the start of the series, I think Hartnell still got that slightly alien quality they had. I know we talked about he's maybe got physical human frailties, but he has got this alien quality of he reacts really grumpily to things, really overreacts sometimes, which is great, which I love, because he's still got that slightly, you're not sure about him. I think he has mellowed since Introduction a little bit, but not enough. I think it comes later on when you get to the Aztecs and stuff like that, when he has this conversation with Barbara about not interfering, he's tried all that kind of stuff. It's really lovely, and you can see him starting to mellow. But then you time you get to the end of the season, he's chucking them off the ship again and Reign of Terror. So he's a bit moody, to put it lightly. So.
If he hasn't had his coffee in the morning,
this is
exactly what happens.
Or a punnet of jelly babies or something like that. That's what I mean.
And I really, because I know that he was unwell during this filming, wasn't it? Because originally,
was he? Right. Yeah.
Apparently so, and I think originally he was meant to have been written into a lot more. So they had the scene of him sleeping added because he was unwell, and had to rest up, or I don't know specifically what was wrong with him. But apart from that, I just get the feeling that Hartnell is really having fun now. He's really enjoying the role, because some of the stuff that he does, it really works.
When he has that hysterical laughing fit, that's wonderful. It's brilliant. He just lost the plot. He really has. It's really nice.
Exactly. And I think, I also, we've talked about it on the previous stories, and we talked about Susan talking about kind of where they're from. and where they've been, and it's built on in this story again. So, Susan says we've had many homes in many places again, which confirms they've lived in a lot of places. So it's kind of like an arc they were building, but it never got realised properly.
Well, you kind of get, obviously, an Unearthly Child and a bit more in the pilot a little bit because of the way it was written, but you get that idea that they are on the run from something, and they've had to stop for a bit of a rest, and then that's why they stayed in London for 6 months, however long it was. So that it's obviously that it almost seems like it was written. By the time you get to the war games, actually, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
It does.
The narrative a little bit, and it's purely by accident, I know, but it actually feels like it's actually fitted together, But
I like that, because you talk about now, and showrunners will get praise to the high heavens for they've developed this story arc throughout the season. They were clearly trying to do something back in 63, which I think is great.
I think because it's a continuous story, because everything it feeds into the other almost at this stage anyway, which I really love. And we're talking about it before. I quite liked when they did it in the 80s, when they did it with the Fifth Doctor. All the stories would be connected, there'd be a reference to something that happened last week or something. It was quite like that.
Very good.
But in this, because it goes into, there's a wee bit leading into the next story. They land in the next place or whatever. Like in the Sensorites or whatever, or that kind of thing. It's really nice to have that follow-on thing. Because it's one continuous story.
Yeah, definitely. And I think another thing I've noticed for quite some time as well, and I'm glad we're doing this because we can talk about it. But Ping Cho, when she says to Susan in episode 1, she says, "What is fab?" Because Susan says "fab" to her.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of kind of when they do the Unquiet Dead. It's very similar to Rose and Gwen and the way they talk. Well, Gwen, I've never heard the like, and you can kind of see that's probably they've obviously picked up from this and chucked it.
Well, they did that recently in the recent season. This is going to date this video, obviously, but with Shooty and Millie. When Millie was talking in Rogue to that girl called Emily, I think her name was. There was a reference to OK and stuff like that, and the kind of modern speak, which worked very well. And I noticed that was a bit like Unquiet Dead, and like you say, with Ping Cho and Susan having that modern and historical clash of kind of dialogue and language and stuff. It's it's a nice touch, though. It's really good.
Yeah, definitely. And for anyone listening, we're actually recording this one in 2062. And Millie's just come back for a special.
And Shooty's done, how long that'll be about 40 years of the Doctor. So
yeah. So, he's just got his outfit.
He's finally got that leather jacket back on again.
And I think the anger with the Doctor as well when Marco Polo seizes the TARDIS. That's really
one thing
goes
I really like about that is the fact that the Doctor's helpless. Again, it's this idea of that you can't just go, but there's many attempts to try and escape, which I don't think are repetitive. I think they work really, really well because you think they're going to do it. Oh, they've not managed it. And that frustration for the viewer or the listener in this case is very much really adds to the tension, which I really like. But that image. I mean, I don't know if have you watched the loose cannon reconstruction, the one that's in colour? Have you seen that?
Yeah.
There's bits in that, some of the photographs, fantastic photographs of the TARDIS on the back of the cart, which is a great image, fantastic image of the TARDIS being dragged along by this horse and cart. It's fantastic. Really, it's really good.
Oh, it's great, and I love. What I love about this story as well, I really enjoy the cliffhangers as well.
Oh yeah.
Because they are very well done, and I do love like the end of episode 1. You've got Tigana plotting and scheming to take the TARDIS, and he's got the vial of poison, and he's just so manipulative, isn't he?
He's Darren Nesbitt. I've seen him in lots of different things, and I've heard him in a couple of big finishes that he's done. He's really good. I really like him as an actor. There's a film from the 70s. Who You Are Awful, Dick Emery movie. It's
Yeah.
not a great film, but some nice moments in it. He plays the kind of gangster villain in it. It is a comic performance, but he's still really quite scary. He's got a real kind of don't mess with me kind of face. You know, I mean, he's really, really good as a villain. You know.
Oh, he's great in this story, and you know, when you move on to episode 2, and then you've got the singing sands, and I you know, and the sandstorm in the Gobi Desert, you know,
that is phenomenal. It sounds fantastic, and if you look at some of the telesnaps, I've got this fantastic Doctor Who magazine special, the telesnaps. God bless John Carrera for taking the photographs, because they're amazing.
Yeah,
and there's some great shots in there of how you can see how the it was done. Obviously, it's like
wind machine,
some kind of overlay over the a wind machine, overlay over the picture, and it's really believable considering this is done in Lime Grove, a tiny it was Lime Grove, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was Lime Grove, yeah,
a tiny space to work in, and they've brought this. I think that's a tantamount to Wass Hussein's direction, though. I think I'm really disappointed this doesn't exist for many reasons, but particularly for his direction, because you can see how well he's done some of the shots. And trying to create a sandstorm in the studio is just madness, but it works really well.
Yeah. And you know, I've said it before, and I'm glad you brought that up, because these people that put these stories together, and they didn't have large budgets. I mean, my praise has no limits for them, because they were just geniuses how they could do this, you know. And I've talked before, and we've talked before, about the fact you can have billions of dollars you could throw into a production, but if you haven't got the right people involved, it doesn't make a bit of difference. You know, these people were just geniuses at what they could do, and in this story, you can see they're just nailing every single piece. There's not a bit of this that I don't like. It's so good. And you know, I also like the fact that Barbara explains to Susan as well about the fact that they feel safe in the TARDIS, and the Doctor's a bit isolated from it because he can't get into the TARDIS. I think that's very nice. And I think, again, they've done it throughout this season 1, but they're slowly telling you that you're safe in the TARDIS. You know, they've alluded to it, haven't they? You know, and Susan with the Daleks.
The Daleks, when she goes to get the drugs and she's in there and she doesn't want to go back again because she's safe, and she's a sigh of relief. And I think that's something that I don't think New Who's really done. They made the TARDIS less of a safe place. Anyone can get the TARDIS now, which is a real shame. And I think it might be just the fact they've got wooden doors rather than the proper doors that we like for the classic Who. And that does seem like when they shut, you are safe, and that's a place of sanctuary. And that continues quite a lot. Because very rarely in classic Who you got anyone getting to the TARDIS. Now and again, but not very often. You know?
Yeah, exactly right. You know, and you know, we talked about it before, didn't we? About, you know, when you talk about Death to the Daleks, and you know, the Exelon gets inside the TARDIS, and it's like that's a very scary moment as a kid, because you're like, oh, you know, he's got into the panic room, so to speak. You know,
well, that's the thing. I wondered in that. And I know we'll talk about that another time, but aliens are getting to the TARDIS. Are they still there? I'm sure there's 2 Cybermen wandering around from the Earth shocking.
Exactly.
There, you know,
just they're lying by the pool having a cocktail.
Exactly. Yeah, reading the news about the Titanic, probably with a stores, you know, like Barusa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, I do love the fact how Barbara describes the Doctor being like a rubber ball that he'll come out bouncing with ideas.
Yeah,
you know, and it's a good description of the Doctor. You know, so I was going to say to you as well, and I'll talk about this a bit more as well because it does come up, but how Jeopardy friendly is Susan? You know, and at some point they just need to leave her because she's just causes too much trouble.
Well, you were talking about the cliffhangers. What I can't remember which episode it is. It episode 2 or 3? I can't remember. When the cliffhangers are screaming because of the eyes are moving in the Cave of 500 Eyes.
Yeah, 500 Eyes.
People, you know, you say Deborah Watling had a great scream, but her scream in that is like deafening. and it's really good. I know she screams quite a lot, and she seemed to get a bit worse in Keys of Marinus after this, but I've never understood why someone like her would be so vulnerable to these situations, having had experience with a doctor in different places. I'm surprised she's still quite naive. You know, I thought she'd be a bit more ballsy about it, a bit less kind of more blasé about it, rather than being scared about it. You know.
Yeah, and thankfully, I mean, in this story as well, with Susan, they established that she is 16 years of age.
Yeah.
Ping Cho's 16, she's 16. So that hasn't been retconned yet.
Well, the thing is that, you know, is it like dog years? You know, if you're a typo, you have to add extra on to make it work, you know, to translate it. You know, is that how it works? I don't know.
Don't give them ideas, mate. Don't give them ideas. And so yeah, so they go out effectively to follow Tagana. You know, the sandstorm approaches, and the soundtrack is just superb, isn't it? Where you've got the sand hitting like the bamboo, you know, and it is just, I love it. I can sit there and I can sit in my lunch hour and I can listen to that. I can shut my eyes and I can just picture it. And I know that I really would love to have this story back to watch, because visually I think it would look superb. But there is also something special about your mind's eye creating that world and that environment.
True. It's like reading a book and then they translate it to a film and it doesn't live up to expectations a little bit. But I think, I think I felt the same about Web of Fear. I used to listen to Web of Fear quite a lot. And when that came back, I wasn't disappointed. I loved it and I still thought it was atmospheric. Some great moments in it. So I'm hoping, even if we got one episode back, it would be lovely, because I'd love to see some of it, because that's one story that no real clips exist, because you can't really count the recap from Edge of Destruction, because it's not the same recap you get in the next episode of Roof of the World, so it's slightly different. But I'd love to see at least an episode. Would be lovely, you know.
Oh, it'd be great. And you know, I'm biased, but I want to see Kublai Khan's palace, Summer Palace. You know, that's the one. That's the episode I want, because I think, you know, from what I've seen, it looks great. You know, give me that.
Like I say, there's lots of photographs of this, which is fabulous, and a lot of them are in colour, which make it look really sumptuous. A bit like the Aztecs, it's got a real kind of. It's a shame it wasn't shot in colour. You know.
Yeah.
I believe I read somewhere. I think Heather Hartnell said that was one of Hartnell's regrets. It wasn't made in colour, which is interesting. But
well, you know full well that they would be doing this one if it was around.
Oh
no, without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah.
But they cut it down to 15 minutes. So very good.
It would just be turning up at the Summer Palace, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they arrive and then they get taken straight there. Yeah, exactly. And Marco Polo's narration's on fast forward, you know, as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We crossed the desert. That'll be it.
Here we are. Yeah, we've arrived. That was quick. Yeah.
And I think with regards to Garner again, showing how villainous he is, and he's scheming, and he punches the water in this episode as well, you know, and then, you know, this Garner is just, we've talked about it already in this story, but the way he plays it, is so good.
He's very good.
And he's a real villain, you know. And
well, spoilers come out when he takes his own life at the end. I was quite disappointed by that, because I thought, come on.
Exactly. I mean, he's great. I don't get bored of listening to him as well. He's literally, and I think you can tell he's having a great time with it as well.
So for actors, it's always a great part to play the villain, because it's more fun than playing the goodie effectively. But I think, talking of goodies, I think Mark Eden is particularly good as Marco Polo. A very strong performance there as well.
Very good.
I think that makes a difference, because later on in this season there are a couple of stories, some of the performances are less strong, which sometimes let the story down a little bit. And I can't think of anyone in this that, apart from the obvious, I have to mention that the obvious actors being Chinese but who are not Chinese, which can be a bit of a problem in today's sort of mindset. But I just accept it for what it is. It was done at the time. That's what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to dwell on it, because I don't know how that would affect if they did find it, if it was released on DVD, Blu-ray. They might have to put a sticker on it and say this was made at a time when opinions were different, effectively, and that's what all we have to do, really. So,
I mean, that's nonsense, isn't it?
it is nonsense.
It's just it was made in a different time. Just enjoy it for the story as it is, and just jettison all of that nonsense because it is a story. Yeah.
I was going to say, on the subject of actors, and I found this out from Toby Haydock on some, I think it was on the Underworld thing. There's a Jimmy Gardner, I think his name is. He plays Edal's father in Underworld, and he's in Marco Polo. He plays Cheng Chu or something. He plays.
Yeah.
That's it. So that I like spotting actors who turn up later on in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And that was a new one on me. I'd obviously missed because we don't have the footage. But I like to spot them and think, oh, he was in that story, wasn't he? It's quite fun.
I bet that ate away at you as well, that you'd missed one. I bet you couldn't sleep.
Because sometimes you get you say, so I know this actor, I've seen him somewhere before, and then you realise who it is, and sometimes they creep up. One of them that got me was Shada. The guy in Shada who's in Web of Fear, he plays the Welsh character. He's in Shada playing one of the scientists, which I thought was fantastic, but which I wasn't aware of. So even now you can watch Doctor Who many times, know it back
something else,
whatever, and something creeps up. So it's got a lot of watchability for me in that respect.
And I'll always find something new in them. I just, like you, I'll probably find something and I'll be like, oh bugger, I've been watching it all these years, and I didn't pick up on that. Shame on me as a fan. I'm not allowed to watch anything Doctor Who wise for at least a week
as a punishment, for not being a true fan. That's it. I liked, it's a really naughty of me, but I like to spot the odd mistake, like the hand of Sutek, those sort of moments, which I think are fabulous. It doesn't detract from it from me. It adds another layer to it for me, which I love.
Exactly. It's great, and I mean, this, going back to this story as well, I think the cliffhanger for it, again, we talk about Tagana at the Oasis, and he's going, here's the water, Marco Polo, as you've got there, and he drains it, and it's great again as a cliffhanger.
It's great because he takes real relish in delivering that line, and that
he does.
Like, I'll get you,
exactly. And then one of my favourites from this story as well is the 500 Eyes. I really do like this story, and I was going to say to you, because in this episode, 500 Eyes, they're stuck in the desert, and the Doctor's in the TARDIS, and you get the condensation coming down. Now, I know we've talked about it before, and the inside of the TARDIS was always effectively meant to be another dimension. With the fault, is that dimensional system not working as well, which is why they're now getting condensation? Because that's me trying to sci-fi geek Doctor Who fan think it through, that's on the blink, because without it, they wouldn't have that problem inside, would they?
True, but if that was the case, then because of the circuit, the TARDIS was damaged, it should be more like Father's Day, and it's just a police box now, because it's know what I mean?
Exactly. True.
But what was interesting about the fact this story is peppered with educational bits like this, like learning about condensation and all that kind of stuff, and about when you about the flame being higher altitude, all that kind of stuff is difficult to do stuff, and then there's stuff about hash later on, which is interesting, as well. Which is, interesting, talking about drugs, which is going to or assassins as well, which is really interesting.
Well, I do love in this episode where the Doctor comes out with the water, and Marco Polo literally is incensed with anger because he feels he's been keeping the water from everybody, and he's trying to explain about the condensation, and Marco Polo's not having any of it, and then Ian has to, the Doctor asks Ian to explain it, which he finally calms down, and then they all have a nice swig.
It's the idea of having I know if you're desperate for a drink, you're desperate for a drink, but the idea of getting sponges and mopping down the TARDIS and wringing it out into a jug, it sounds revolting, to be honest.
It does. Like t-shirts.
Exactly. A bit sweaty. I don't fancy that much. Kind of thing. You got any cordial to put in it to make it taste better?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Got any scorpion venom?
Yeah, that would probably do the trick. Yes.
Yeah. And then also you've got they arrive at the way station, much to the disgust of Tagana, and he makes up an excuse about bandits being there, so he had to hide essentially, and it's building again, it's building and building, about where we get to later on. But the Doctor also goes back to saying about how he needs to repair a circuit, and it's going to take him a week to repair it. I would say it's probably the third Doctor that gets back to doing all of that, trying to repair the TARDIS.
Yeah,
don't see that much for you don't see that second Doctor, do you, to an extent? But
not really,
the first Doctor obviously was always going in to try and repair something. So it's the third Doctor that really starts. Well, he's banished, but he's there. He's not just trying to repair. He's going all in, isn't he? He's literally ripping bits out.
Well, that's it, exactly. And taking the console room, all that kind of stuff. But how he managed to get through the doors, I've no idea. It's another detail for another time. But
exactly.
The Doctor, the first Doctor, though, what I do like about this is that he doesn't really understand the TARDIS. So if he was more knowledgeable about how it worked, he might fix them quicker. But he's still learning about how it all works, isn't he?
Yeah, and you just got. I just always have this image in my head of the first Doctor sort of going in the TARDIS, and he's flicking through the pages of a user manual. Like you used to get in the 80s. Like a Haynes or something, just trying to figure it out.
It's like go into the console room and do delete alt whatever on the console to get into
it. Give it a 10-second count and then reboot. Yeah.
And if in doubt, just hit it like you normally do. That's what.
Yeah. And then dial the call center. And so I mean, I again, Tagana in the temple discussing his plans as well about how they're going to attack the caravan and take the TARDIS because he wants it for himself. But
for no guy as well, isn't it?
No guy. Exactly. So, yeah. And then I do love how Barbara goes in and she's following. She gets captured. But I do love, and again, this is me listening to it, and I've got the image in my head. I've built this world, but I just have this sinister image of those eyes moving.
Yeah.
It just.
I love the way the Doctor dismisses
Susan.
Everybody, Susan and Ping Chu about that, with the nonsense child, all that, and then Ian comes in and says, "Well, look, actually, they are moving." It's like,
It's all right, yeah.
I'll take your word for it, Ian. That's fine. You're a man. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you also get to, like you say, you're talking about Susan and her screams. This was the big scream at the end of this episode, and with the headphones on, I think I had blood bursting out of my ears after that cliffhanger.
Well, I was listening to. I've still got a CD player thing, so I listened to it on that, and so it was playing around the house, much to the noise of my wife. But I was in the kitchen, sort of tidying up, listening to it. I like to listen to it and do things at the same time because I find it helps me focus better, bizarrely, strangely. But
I know what you mean. I'm saying,
and I do that with Big Finish a little bit as well. But it's a great scream, and it really sets the atmosphere, and it's a real kind of moment, that they're in trouble again, and it works really well,
Yeah, I bet your neighbours called the police, didn't they, when they heard that scream? But what's going on there?
Well, sometimes if I've got the back door open, the dogs in the garden, they can hear the Doctor Who theme playing almost constantly. It's like being the Doctor Who exhibition, It's kind of
yeah. It's like armoured personnel from the police coming through your windows,
Yeah, exactly,
we got him.
Yeah. But it's no. I said already, it's a fantastic story. This, and I really want them to find it. I was hoping when we had this Omni rumor back in 2013, when we got Enemy of the World and Web of Fear, and there's all this talk about Marco Polo being around as well. I would have loved that. I was so looking forward to that, and greatly disappointed. So maybe it might still come. Who knows?
Yeah, fingers crossed that we do get it one day. Because, like you, I think if that happened, me and you would be doing a live watch along. You know,
definitely, yeah.
We're going into this now. To hell with copyright, we're doing it.
yeah, definitely live reaction. Yeah. Superb.
And I mean, episode 4 as well. I do love Marco Polo leaps into action as it begins, and he kills the Mongol to save Barbara.
Yeah.
I think that's quick and it's really well done. But there's a lovely interaction between the Doctor and Tagana at the beginning of this story, and I love it. What is it? The Doctor says to Tagana, "I'm not afraid of ghosts," and then Tagana is like, "Oh yes, I forgot you're a magician, aren't you?" You know, and it's the way he's done. He doesn't shout it to Garner, but he's quiet with it. He says it quietly and kind of. There's a sinister, quiet way he says it, which is really good. But you can tell. You can tell the Doctor's figured it out. Figured him out.
Is that when he says the line about you need a stake through the heart? Or is that later? I can't remember.
That's later, but that's another great interaction. I love that as well. But I think you then got. Blimmin' Susan again. She's chatting to Ping Cho about the TARDIS key with Tagana hearing them talking about it. And then another Tagana line, which I love. These two are favourites of mine. This is what you were talking about, one of them. But the first one is, Polo will die like an old woman in her bed. Which is great. I love how he says that. And then, as you say, but how do you kill an old magician? And he just says, with a stake through the heart, of course. And he just says it calmly, doesn't he? But it's got that sinister element to him.
He's got all the best lines. And another line he's got about describes the TARDIS like a warlord's tomb standing there on one end or something. I think something like that. And it's a fantastic
and doesn't he say the caravan later on? He says about Kublai Khan's throne will be something like the caravan will be Kublai Khan's tomb, the no guy's throne, or something like that. He says,
some of that,
which is really good. And then the Doctor slips into the TARDIS. He's getting quite good at slipping into the TARDIS at this point, isn't he?
Yeah. And like I said earlier, you're kind of desperate for him to manage it, even though I suppose we know it's 7 episodes long. But if you didn't know that was the end of the story, they could have been leaving at that point,
Yeah.
And you do feel a little bit like you're really rooting for them to get away because they've had a miserable time, and they want to get away, And you can feel for the fact that Susan and Ping Chu are really good friends now, and feel a bit sorry for Susan when they're going to leave,
Yeah, exactly.
But that I love when they get into the TARDIS and then they're desperate for Susan to get. And Hartley's got that great line about Great Olympus. Where is she? Or whatever. Fantastic stuff. Yeah.
It is great, and I think with this one as well, it's like where the Doctor comes out and Tagana's there with Marco Polo, and they basically says, Marco Polo says, "Give me the key, or we'll have to use force." And the Doctor says something like, "That's the only way you'll get it off me, sir." And then Tagana just twists his wrists and takes the key. And then
that's quite funny in a way. I'm not sort of celebrating bullying, but it's a bit like a bully picking on a kid, isn't it? A wee bit,
Yeah, but then the Doctor goes says a classic Doctor lines. There's so many in the history of the show, but I do love it where he sort of talks about, he says to Marco Polo, "To enter my caravan, you need more than a key. You need knowledge. Attempt to enter and you will destroy the ship." So it hints again that there's like security protocols for the TARDIS, because I think I said to you, in An Unearthly Child, when you actually watch it and you see the Doctor opening the TARDIS up, the lock actually comes out.
Yeah.
When he's doing it. So with this, it's almost kind of also building along the fact that, well, you can't just get into it with a key. There are protocols in place to stop.
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't when Ian wants to go at the TARDIS and the Daleks, when he thinks he's the fittest to go, and Susan describes it with the lock has so many combinations. If you get the wrong, the lock melts or something. So
that's right. Yeah,
kind of that kind of defense mechanism going on there.
And I mean, what do you do in that situation? Do you just call a locksmith in to just put a new one in?
You go down to Timpson's and get fixed. I don't know, but other key people are available, or shoe people are available. Yes.
Well, if the first Doctor was cranky at this moment, imagine what he'd be like if his lock had been melted out.
Oh God, yeah.
No, I tell you, Susan would be left.
Well, the fact that the Sensorites do it, and the Sensorites, they take the lock away, which is quite clever of them to manage that, you know. But,
yeah, exactly. And I think I do also. The ending again. We talked about how great cliffhangers are in this story, but where Ian slips out of the tent and he goes to knock out the guard, and the guard is already dead, you know, and it just ends there and moves on to the next episode. I mean, again, they really knew how to do some really decent cliffhangers back in the classic Who, didn't they?
There is a bit, and I don't know if this is later or this is round about the same time you're talking about. Is this the bit where before that Ian does? I'm a bit drunk. Let's speak to the guard acting that he does.
Yeah. I think that's the next one. Yeah,
that's the next one. Yeah, that was quite funny. Yeah. Good.
You know, again, you're right, because what I love about Ian at that point is, you know, you think he's just going to go and knock the guard out, you know, but he's not. Yeah. I love how, because he goes, what was it? Give me the bottle of wine or something.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, he's going to knock him out with wine, but he doesn't. He plays as a drunk. And it's just, again, you can see William Russell's having a blast doing it.
Oh, yeah.
He's having great fun. And, you know, we then wake up in episode 5, you know, or open up in episode 5 when we've got, you know, Ian wakes Marco Polo, basically said that one of the guards is dead, and then Marco Polo is up in a shot and he's at it. And then they're preparing to be attacked. And
this is where they explain why they're out, isn't it? He said, well, we're trying to escape. I'm going to take you hostage so we can get the TARDIS back. And I think at that moment, it's lovely between Marco Polo and Ian. They explains what they're trying to do, and he's not means them. The Doctor and companions mean them no harm. They just want to go. Yeah, it's just a lovely kind of interchange between him and Marco Polo. And Marco Polo just, that's it. You know, you're in trouble now. You know, he doesn't take any prisoners on that, does he? At that point?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. And I think I do like this story where, you know, Ian decides to start burning the bamboo.
Yeah.
And you know, they're attacked, but I do love as well, you know, the Doctor with yet another fantastic line where they've all been given swords, and he says, "Not going to get far with this overgrown bread knife." You know, it's just brilliant. Yeah. That's the Doctor, isn't it? He's going, "We need another way."
And then Marco Polo says, "If you're as good with a sword, you with your tongue or something like that."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
as vicious, I think he says something like
that. Yeah, and the writing is as sharp as a sword, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so well done, and you know, it just seems like everyone's having a blast on this one. You know, it is brilliant stuff. And then again, you know, they fight off the bandits. The bamboo goes off. They run away. Then we have another moment with Susan where she says to Peng Cho, basically, home as far away as a night star. So again, just dropping in there about, you know, their home is far away. There's still a little thread, kind of what you were saying about earlier about the fact that from the pilot episode they were on the run from something, but they're talking about they kind of added that element into these stories.
And it's still alluded to in the broadcast episode, first episode as well. There are elements of that, where Wander's in the fourth dimension of space and time, etc. All that, they are lost and they've come from somewhere. They can't go back.
Yeah.
And you never find out what it is. And those tantalizing hints are just enough,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's,
which I wish we would go back to that, but.
Yeah. And you're like, it's just, your mind goes into overdrive, doesn't it? And it's like, I wonder where they're from. Oh, would it be great if we saw where they're from? But you don't want to go there. You're kind of quite happy just building something in your own mind. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then, like, this is the bit without a shadow of a doubt where they should have left Susan behind forever, because she is a major liability. And you know exactly what I'm going to say here, mate, because literally they all sneak down to get into the TARDIS. They get into the TARDIS, but then Susan goes, I've got to go back and say goodbye to Ping Cho.
Yeah.
So they're about to escape. She says goodbye, then comes back, and then Tigana captures her as she's about to get in the TARDIS. I would literally at that point be shutting the doors, dematerializing, and saying, right, no, you stay with Tigana.
And it wouldn't be quite so poetic as Darky Bees on Earth. But see you, Susan, bye. It would be like, one day I shall come back. Never mind that, I'm off. Yes.
Yeah. You wouldn't. You'd get more along the lines of, someday I won't come back.
Yeah.
You've done this to yourself. Get your own cabin.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. You stay here with Ping Cho if you want to. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And then I do like that. I mean, it always makes me laugh about that, because when you get into the next episode and the Doctor's as crotchety as he is, he basically says to Susan, as long as you're all right, child, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
So it shows
didn't really mean that. He didn't really mean that.
No.
That was
because 5 minutes later he's gonna. You think he's going to do, what as he says in Dalek's Invasion of Earth?
A jolly good smack bottom. That's what.
Yeah, that's the deleted scene we never got inside the TARDIS.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she's been slippered in the TARDIS. That's it. Anyway, but
yeah, and Ian and Barbara going, right, no, another 10 lashes.
Yeah. Or they've got the belt out from school, because I had a teacher at my school. He had the belt under his shirt, and he'd bring it out to show kids and scare them. Yeah, that's how old I am. But maybe they could do that. Barbara could maybe give her the belt or lines or detention or something like that, just to tell her off.
I always picture now what would Ian be like if he came back and in this time and became a teacher.
Yeah,
like if he started misbehaving, he'd just give him a smack round the face, wouldn't he?
Well, that's it. Or if he's got a Dalek gun handy, that could come in handy.
Yeah, just paralyse their legs, so they've got to sit there and just follow what he's doing. And so, I mean, episode 6, Mighty Kublai Khan, another belter. I love the scene in this story where Ian is trying to explain to Marco Polo that they travel through time. Yeah. And he just won't believe him. And I do like that little interaction between the two of them, and you can see Marco Polo's point of view, because he's like, well, you've lied to me all the way through, so why am I going to believe you now? And I love how Marco Polo kind of walks out and he goes, if I did believe you, Ian, I would have given you the key, and it's just so well played, It's those little moments in these stories that this story that really make it.
Hartnell kind of says this in Reign of Terror about trying to change history a little bit. If you said to Rolf Spear, you're going to get shot in the face, he wouldn't believe you. Yeah. So it's a bit like that, because to be honest, the story that they have is so incredible and unbelievable. You can understand why Marco doesn't, believe them anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
whether
exactly.
Or not, because it's such an incredible thing to say,
Yeah, and I also, sorry, you.
I was going to say, they said they did another thing similar in the Crusade when Barb was talking to Saladin about about being with in Roman times and with insects and all that kind of stuff. And you're traveling players, are you? Right, because you can't be
exactly,
wheel, kind of thing, which is great.
Oh, it's super, man.
Yeah.
I will say in this story as well, a nice little story arc I really like as well is Ping Cho about, she doesn't want to marry an old man, and she's running away in this story, isn't she? She knows, was he 85?
Yeah, that line when they get the news that he's died, and that line is like, he took the elixir of life and expired over the line, and it's a brilliant line.
Yeah,
and Kublai Khan's, the Empress, is crying on her behalf, and he said, she's dry-eyed, she's fine, she doesn't care,
yeah. And I think I love another fantastic Doctor moment for me, and again, when you talk about throughout the history of the show, and there's great Doctor moments, how many of them in Marco Polo are there that I absolutely adore by what Hartnell, the first Doctor, says? Because like this one, what is it? Marco Polo says to him, Kublai Khan has 10,000 white stallions, and the Doctor responds with, yes, well, I only need one, whether it's red, white, or blue. And it's just It's a first Doctor moment, isn't it? And it is so good.
Well, the bit when he arrives at court and the vizier is saying you must kowtow to Kublai Khan, he can't keep his back's killing him and stuff. And he goes, that kind of stuff. And then Kublai Khan comes in and he's got ailments as well. And they're both outgroaning each other, which is superb. And Martin Miller as Kublai Khan's hilarious. He's brilliant, But,
it is. That is another comedy brilliant moment. Just when they walk out together, take my arm, and they're, what is it? I also love the Doctor's comment about Kublai Khan says to him something along the lines of, how do we deal with old age? And the Doctor is like, with dignity, sir, which is really, really great. And then the two of them going out
Susan's
together.
killing herself for this. She's laughing at them as well.
Exactly. So I think that's really well done. And then they go off to play a game together.
When they're playing backgammon together, that is brilliant.
Yeah.
And the fact the Doctor is doing so well, but then the tables are turned and he loses. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And Hartnell gives a great reaction to, he's hysterical again about the fact he's lost the TARDIS, but I love all that. And the fact that he's tried to get the TARDIS off Kublai Khan before it's been given to him as a present from Marco Polo. So it's really, he's so devious. It's brilliant. It's so clever. Yeah.
It is. And, and this story, again, just keeps, it's just a joy, because it just keeps, again, I've lost count the number of times I've listened to it over the years, but it just keeps building episode after episode. There's just so much pleasure in this for me. And then, I think the cliffhanger as well. I love the cliffhanger of this episode where Tagana arrives and he's goading Ian to come and fight him, and he's come, and it's so good, and like I say, that you've got the final episode where you've got, you said earlier, Tagana, where he falls on his own sword, but you've got that fantastic scene with Marco Polo and Tagana sword fighting, and it's like, even talks about the fact that these are two skilled fighters that have been well trained going at each other, and it is so well done, and again, that's, I wish I could see that. I wish I could see that on my TV.
Well, I'm sure you've watched the reconstruction that's on the beginning box set, and that's like 20 minutes long or something like that, approximately. And some nice shots of it, but the little shots towards the end of the episode are particularly strong, and that sword fight's great. And some of the images they have on the reconstruction are great. I don't want to get too far ahead as we get to the end, but the bit where there's a great shot of the TARDIS from above,
Yeah,
dematerializing, and then they got that
brilliant.
fantastic bit of Mark Eden saying where have they gone, in the past or the future, and you get a great shot of the TARDIS with like it was like a starscape behind it almost.
Yeah, that's it.
Room. Really good, lovely.
Oh,
again, Wallace Hussein's great brilliance as a director, superb. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say to you about Wallace Hussein because I've got nothing but respect and appreciation for him as a director because he was just excellent, and you know he I mean, this is another example of how he knew his craft so well. It's just another brilliant story by him, and like we've talked about before, I just wish that he'd done more. I really do, because when you start thinking like that, you start jumping into parallel world thinking, and you're thinking, Waris Hussein went on and did another 5 years or something. You think, what could have been, what could have happened? It was.
Well, I think in a way, I'm glad we got what we got, because we may have not got Douglas Camfield, who kind of like replaced him, kind of stakes of the best director probably had in classic Who. But I think he's done some great stuff, and I think part of it's the casting as well. Because even we go back to Jonathan Child, there's some great casting in that, great casting in this, and that makes a huge difference to the strong performances. Because like Mark Eden, Nesbitt, Mark Miller, I've forgotten what's Ping Cho's actor's name.
Ping Cho's.
Is it?
Well, I made a note of it, but
I can't remember the top of name now.
Yeah. But very good.
I can check my trusty program guide.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I had this handy just in case of this very very moment. Is it Jenna Merton? I think her name is Jenna Merton.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
And she's superb in this as well. She ended up in Space 1999, didn't she, as well, at one point?
Don't get me started.
And Sarah Jane Adventures as well. She's an episode of that, isn't she, too? Yeah. So.
But I mean, with regards to this story, I mean, where do you rank it out of 10?
This people watching this won't believe me saying this, but this is a 10 out of 10 for me every time. Honestly, this is superb, and I'd want to see this. This is my holy grail. Webber Fee was one of my holy grails. This is my holy grail, Doctor Missing Stories. If they could find even just an episode, I want the whole thing, to be honest, but an episode would be good. But I give this a 10. This is superb. I couldn't praise this enough. Honestly, I love this story.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you on it. I give it a 10. I adore the Aztecs as a historical, but this beats it for me. I just think this is just a fun adventure all the way through. And as I talked to you earlier about it, the narration, it just makes you feel like you're kind of going on like a Michael Palin type journey with them as well. And all these adventures, and it's so well done. I would give it a 10. The other thing, as we alluded to at the beginning, who do you vote for character of the story?
Well, I kind of spoiled it early doors on this, but it has to be Darren Nesbitt. He's superb as Tagana. Really good. He steals the show a bit, to be honest. He's really good and really strong and really villainous, and you believe that he's a complete, a nasty piece of work, really, really, really mean character, and he's really believable, and scary as well,
Yeah. And again, no surprise, I've gone for Tagana as well. I just think he's a great villain. He's up there as one of the great villains of Doctor Who, and I think I think there's a great cast in this story, but the way he plays it, and I love the way he's quiet, sinister. He doesn't scream and shout, but there's just something edgy about him, something quite chilling about him as his character, and I just think
there's one
I never get bored of it. Yeah,
there's one character we'll mention briefly, played by Claire Davenport. She plays the Empress, Kublai Khan's missus, obviously, and she's obviously very famous for Faulty Towers. The one with the fire alarm. It's a semi-tone, all that stuff. And she's brilliant in that as well, but she's quite good in this too. She's quite funny. She plays a very, very comic character, but she's really good in it as well. Yeah.
Oh, it's genius. It is. The cast are really great. I must listen to this 2 or 3 times a year.
Oh, me too.
You know?
Me too.
It just like today where it's a nice sunny day. I can sit in the garden, close my eyes, and I could just have that on with the headphones on.
Well, I
I'm
remember
away.
I was unwell a few years ago and I spent a bit of time in hospital, and I listened to it on the on my iPod, and it really cheered me up no end. It was great. So lovely. But
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just just it's a healer, isn't it?
Oh, definitely, and it's like you said, it's a comfort. Doctor Who, I know it really well, and it's bizarre that you should know something like this so well because it is missing.
Yeah,
But I can't. This is, like I say, I want to see this so much, and I do hope they find it. So if Philip Morris is watching, give it back now, please. Thank you.
Yeah, Philip Morris, sort it out, sunshine. Come on,
and I'm only kidding, Philip, but I know you've done great work in the past. Or I think Ian Levine has AI'd this now as well, so we might get a chance to see that at some point. And
absolutely.
As well.
Yeah, that'll be good.
So good luck to both gentlemen doing what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. We're just greedy. We just want to see as much as we can.
Exactly.
We're very selfish. We're very greedy individuals, and we
definitely. But we're Doctor Who fans. We're entitled Doctor Who fans that feel we have a right to see this stuff.
Exactly right. Yeah.
This could have been such a good seller on DVD, or imagine this on VHS in the 80s.
Oh dear me! I mean,
it would be a treble pack of the pack of the 7 episodes.
Well, remember when Tomb of the Cybermen came back and how big that was? Just imagine if Marco Polo was found as well. I talking about missing episodes as well. I remember in 2013 when they announced Web of Fear, and I remember that they were releasing it on. You could purchase it on Apple, on iTunes at midnight.
I was there. Yeah.
And all I had at the time was I had my iPad that I could watch it. So I stayed up till midnight, worked the next day.
Yeah.
And Enemy of the World as well. And I literally just purchased them straight in there for Web of Fear. And I think I finished about something like 4 or 5 a.m. and then went to work just on pure adrenaline. Marco Polo, I'd probably just phone in sick.
But
because I wouldn't go to work, I'd go straight in.
I was lucky to be off the next day when they came out. Luckily, it was really, really good, and I did the exact same as you. I watched them. I think I watched them, and then went to bed, got up again, watched them again. But and they both were superb. And End of the World again was very much a great surprise. But loved that too. But Web of Fear just was just amazing.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely superb. So, I mean, if I saw this, I would be like a 5-year-old. I would be on it like you. I'd have it on loop, and I just wouldn't be able to get enough of it. So good, so good. And if they ever get to a point and they decide, similar to like what they've done with Celestial Toymaker, and they decide to animate it. If they are ever going to decide to animate it, they need to do the animation justice. They need to make sure they don't do it in the style of Celestial Toymaker. They do it proper justice because of the colours and the way it was done.
Yeah.
It needs to be.
I was quite surprised. I have now watched CT in context and seen it, and actually found it better than I anticipated. I've watched the black and white version, which is better. I think the caricatures work. The main issue I have with it is making the real people, like the Doctor, Dodo, and Stephen, being caricatures doesn't really work. If they were real, more realistic, then I think the other characters would work in their caricatureness. Because I think the Toymaker himself is actually quite realistic compared to Hartnell, for instance. It's weird.
Yeah. So I mean, just give us a nice animated Marco Polo at least. We'll crack on from there. No pressure on them. Just just do it.
And a colour version of that would be lovely if they did it in the same vein as, say, Power of the Daleks or something like that, or Evil or something. And it was that good quality of animation would be better.
Absolutely. And
but we can but hope, John. Maybe someday. Yeah, one day it will come back.
We've got to keep that hope alive, mate. We've got to, because we need something. We need a release.
But it does make. I don't know about you. It does make the '60s era of Doctor Who quite intriguing, because there are bits that are missing, and you've kind of got audios, you've got telly snaps, but you've not quite seen the episodes that are missing as yet. But you feel, certainly with this one, I feel like I have. But that mystery, that intrigue is really interesting as a fan to kind of, it's like Doctor Who archaeology, isn't it? A little bit, you know?
It is, yeah. And, you know, again, growing up as a kid, I just wanted to see as much Doctor Who as I could. And I wanted to see 60s Doctor Who as much as I could. And, you know, where it wasn't there. Yeah.
I remember having the Radio Time special from 73 and then the making of Doctor Who after that and reading the synopses of the stories, thinking, that sounds fantastic.
Exactly.
Kind of thing, you know, and that was great, you know, and then eventually seeing them on VHS in the 80s, whatever, and so on, you know, that was great. But that 1981 winter special, like I can still feel the pain reading that and saying half of it was missing. But anyways.
Exactly. It's a pain that will never leave us. You know,
but it's come a long way since then. If you look back at it and compare the gaps to then to now, it's amazing how much has been returned since then. It's incredible. Yeah.
Well, you know, again, you know, when I was growing up, I didn't get to see a lot of Third Doctor stuff for a while. So, 60s Doctor Who was even harder. You know, to get anything out. I think when I was a kid, I had one Troughton story out at the time, and I think that was about it. Yeah, Seeds of Death, and I loved the image of it because it was that classic, the dark console with the second Doctor leaning over the console. I did love that VHS cover.
Yeah, nothing like the story at all, but it was interesting.
No. Yeah.
like Earthshock with Revenge of the Cybermen with the Earthshock Cybermen on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nice bit of branding, BBC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But no, I mean that's it for today. Thanks for joining us, me and Paul. You know, it's a labour of love for us because we love just talking about these superb stories, don't we? And
if you've not listened to it, I recommend it. Go and get it now. It's available in many outlets. You can get it anywhere. Try hard, you'll find it.
It is. Get it, drift away, enjoy yourself. You know, but and also put in the comments as well what your thoughts are on it and what your favourite bits of the story are, because we'd love to hear back from you as well. And join us on the next one. We're looking to try and put a story out every week to review. So, you know, continue to join us, and we'll be putting a schedule up soon as well. But until next time, have a great week. Take care of yourselves.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.